Hi, and welcome to this third video on how to live code with Mercury. In this video we will look at how to create a synthesizer and also how we can change the pitch for the synthesizer or the note and how we can change the length or the envelope. So before we get started with coding, let's first have a look at what a synthesizer actually does. A synthesizer is a musical instrument that generates an audio signal, and it generates this audio signal based on a waveform. Now, these are some typical waveforms for a synthesizer, for example the sine wave, the sawtooth, the triangle and the square wave. The synthesizer plays these waveforms back periodically, and based on the speed you will hear a difference in pitch. So for example, if this sawtooth wave is repeated very quickly, for example 1000 times per second, then we will hear a frequency of 1000 Hz, which is a high pitch. But on the other hand, if this sawtooth wave is repeated only like 50 times per second, then we will hear a low frequency of 50 Hz. The difference between these four waveforms is their timbre or the color. So let's have a quick listen to what these different waveforms sound like in Mercury and how we can make them. So similar to the previous video, we start with the keyword new. And then instead of typing sample, we now type the word synth. And then we can choose from any of those four waveforms that we looked at. So for example, if I want to hear the saw wave, I can type saw, and we can hit play. So now we hear a sawtooth wave played once per bar, which is the default time. So if we want to play the saw a bit faster, we can say time 1/4, for example. So we can also have a listen to the square wave, which sounds a bit harsher. And then let's have a listen at the triangle wave, which is a bit duller than the previous two waves. And if we want to have a listen at the sine wave, you will need some very good headphones or speakers to be able to hear this low frequency. So if we want to be able to hear this sine wave, we might want to change the note or the pitch. And we can do that with the note function. So we type space, note, and then two parentheses. Now maybe you are familiar with the layout of a piano keyboard, going lower to higher from left to right. In Mercury the notes are similar, only instead of using the letters we use numbers. So a C would be a 0 and a C sharp would be a 1, and then D would be 2, D sharp would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and an octave higher, another C is 12. So let's type in 12 and we can see if we can hear this sine wave better. Still a bit low, so maybe we try 24. Because the sine wave is only one pure frequency, it is always a bit tough to hear. So let's go back to a sawtooth wave so we can hear it quite well. The note function also takes a second argument. And the second argument is not a semitone note number, but it is an octave offset. So if we type a 1 as a second argument, we can actually play this note 0 immediately one octave higher. So 0, 1 would be the same as 12, 0. So if we want to change this note immediately one octave higher as it is already, we can change this note to 2. So basically you can see the note function as a coordinate system, where you have an x and a y value. The x value means go from left to right semitone steps on the keyboard, and the y value means go up immediately one octave, switching to a different place on the keyboard. So if we are at note 0, 0, we are at the C over here. And if we want to go an octave up, we can either go 12, 0, which puts us all the way over here, or we can go 0, 1, which puts us over here. But these are the same notes. So let's create some extra synths with different note values and different timing intervals to create a melody. So as you can see, we can easily add extra synths playing at different timing intervals with different note values. It is also possible to change the length of the note to make them sound longer or shorter. We can do this with the shape function that we also saw in the previous video. The shape function creates a fade in and fade out for the sound. So for example, I can add a shape to this sound to make it a bit longer. So I'll make a fade in of 1 millisecond and a fade out of 300 milliseconds. Let's make it even longer. And let's also do that with the lowest note. But give the lowest note a longer fade in as well. And now I'll give the other notes a different shape as well. We can of course also change the volume of the synthesizers with the gain function. So let's create some different waveforms for some of these synths to hear how they sound combined. So I'll make this one into a triangle, make this one into a square wave. We can also change the panning for the synthesizers, meaning if a sound is panned left, then you will only hear it in the left speaker, or if it's panned right, you will hear it only on the right. You can do that by typing pan, open closing parentheses, and then a value from -1 to 1 determines if you want it completely in the left speaker, completely in the right speaker, or somewhere in the middle. For example, if I pan this synth all the way to the left, and this synth all the way to the right, this one in the center, and this one a little bit to the right, we can hear what it does to the sound. Let's add one final synth to finish this video, which will be a sine wave playing in an offset quarter note, playing at a higher octave so we can actually hear it very well, with a short fade in and fade out. So that was it for this video. In the next videos we will have a look at how we can create melodies for these synthesizers and also how we can create rhythms for the sample. For now I hope you enjoy playing around with what we've done so far, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Bye!